The question we're asking is it safe to stick your head up right now? And I think the answer is definitely yes, but we would advise some protective headgear for the next year because it's not going to be a simple or a straight up ride. There are going to be a few bumps. So let me spend a few minutes taking you through what our global outlook is. As Anne suggested, this is not the product of one person. This is the result of aggregating up the views of about 100 different economists. So you're seeing really a bottom-up approach here that some of our senior people then bring together into one overall outlook. So let's ask the one question everyone is asking, is it over? There's actually a private sector organization, not the government, that decides when recessions start and end. It's going to be a while before they make a ruling, but I'll go out on a limb right now and say the recession is over. I think you'll hear that officially 3 or 4 months from now, but with pretty good growth in the last quarter, probably the recession is over. So we're out of the woods. I'd like to say we are, but not quite. Considering the depth of what we've been through before, it's going to be a little while before we can say we're really out of the woods yet. What kind of recovery are we going to have for the United States? And we're just looking at the United States now to get back to where we were in the middle of 2007, because the middle of 2007 is when this thing started. And if you take a look at that, you'll see that it takes quite a long time for GDP, this is the total output of everything the country produces. It's not going to be really, it doesn't mean the economy's not growing, don't get me wrong, the economy's growing, but we will not be back to where we were in the middle of 2007 until about the middle of 2011. Now, overall, we're going to put the U.S. into a broader context. We said we would talk about the global economy. Europe is also struggling as well for a lot of the same reasons. The UK and Spain had housing bubbles that were even bigger than the ones that we've had. Germany's had some banking troubles like we did. One good element is that economic sentiment and consumer sentiment is picking up. You can see there, this is a combination of what businesses think and what consumers think. It doesn't ever pay to have a global outlook anymore without talking about China. China's economy's done very well, but you have to just ask yourself whether it's sustainable. On that red line, you're looking at the amount of lending that takes place in China. If you're looking to see who is leading this recovery and where the real investment prospects are, in some ways this is not news, but it has been accelerated in some ways by the recession, and that is Asia and the emerging markets are coming out of this recession pretty strongly, partly because they didn't have all the underlying difficulties that the United States and the Europeans did going into it. So our key points, the developed economies have done better, but it's going to be fairly sluggish growth. We've got to get public finances and the budget deficits under control. The banking recovery is going to be a little bit slow. One thing we've learned about this is it takes a while for banks to come back again. And while we're not expecting a bubble next year, this is something to keep an eye on. Just to wrap it up, where's the growth this year and where's it going to be next year? What we're looking at here is just economic growth around the world. You can see that we've tried to cover all the major regions, from China and India, the 2 major emerging markets. And this is where we are this year, which is to say, except for China and India and a couple of oil-powered economies in the Middle East, pretty much everybody this year has had contracting economies. But the good news is, look at next year. For just about everybody, in fact, for everybody, we've got positive growth in 2010. And in the case of China and India, quite a bit better than this year. But even for the US, as I said, maybe 2.5% growth next year. So definitely the next 12 months will be better than the ones we've been through before, no question about that. But there are some headwinds out there. We're cautious about this. I would not expect us to be back to 2005 or 6 right away. It's going to be a couple of years. But at least the outlook is much improved. So enjoy the good results and just brace yourself for 1 or 2 dips in 2010. And I'll close it out there. Thank you very much.